The Russian army threw its best forces at Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, but instead of a lightning breakthrough, it ended up in a bloody meat grinder. A high-ranking Ukrainian general has stated quite explicitly, if the defense forces can successfully maintain their defensive positions until the spring, the Russian army will be exhausted both physically and morally, which means the Kremlin's strategic plans to seize the Donbas region could finally face a total collapse.
And now, more details in our report. You are watching the Glavrad Show. I'm your host, Yevhen Lasiychuk. Like and subscribe to the channel.
The Pokrovsk Myrnohrad agglomeration in Donetsk region is currently one of the key targets of the Russian offensive. It's here that Russia has concentrated its largest and most combat-ready group of troops. The Kremlin placed a strategic bet on this section of the front, hoping to quickly break through the Ukrainian defenses and secure a significant political and military trophy. Moreover, as early as the end of last year, Russian propaganda hastily announced the complete occupation of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. However, the reality turned out to be completely different. These statements remained nothing more than an informational bluff, unconfirmed on the battlefield. Back at the end of the summer of 2024, Russian army units did indeed approach the outskirts of these cities. The situation looked extremely dangerous, but Ukraine quickly redeployed reserves, strengthened its defenses, and stabilized the front, thwarting the scenario of a rapid fall of the agglomeration. Intense, relentless, and extremely fierce fighting in this specific direction has been continuing without interruption for a year and a half already. The absolute peak of strategic tension came at the beginning of autumn 2025, when Russian troops managed to break through the Ukrainian defenses in the south of the agglomeration and begin to penetrate into residential neighborhoods. It was at that moment that the Kremlin decided that victory was near. At the end of October, Russian authorities claimed to have supposedly completed the encirclement of Ukrainian forces in Krasnoarmysk and Dimitrov, names that Moscow still uses for Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, relying on Soviet-era toponyms. On December 1st, the Kremlin announced the capture of Pokrovsk, and right before New Year's, it declared full control over Myrnohrad. But Ukraine categorically denied these claims. The military and political leadership emphasizes that certain areas of both cities remain under the control of the defense forces. There is no question of any encirclement or complete capture of the agglomeration. This position is also confirmed by OSINT analysts. They point to the lack of reliable evidence that Russia has full control over Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. Yes, part of the urban area has long since turned into a so-called gray zone, where the front line is unstable, but the Russian army does not have stable dominance there. Given the gravity of this current situation, the main question is exceptionally difficult. How much longer can Ukraine continue to hold out against Russia's pressure in this sector? Does the Ukrainian armed forces have enough strength, reserves, and resources to continue the exhausting urban battles? The answer to this question is given by Brigadier General Yevhen Lasiychuk, commander of the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces, who has been responsible for the defense of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad since the summer of 2025. In an interview with BBC News Ukraine, the general states directly, the key objective is to hold out until spring. According to his calculations, it is by this time that the Russian army should face a critical depletion of both personnel and equipment. The pace of the offensive will inevitably slow down. However, for now, the enemy is, on the contrary, trying to increase the pressure. As of today, Ukraine's defense forces have full control over the northern part of Pokrovsk and the north of Myrnohrad. In Pokrovsk, the enemy is acting more aggressively. They're trying to push through the defenses to the northwest, aiming to reach the settlement of Grushini. According to Lasiychuk, this specific direction is currently the primary strategic objective for the Russian forces. Certain enemy units are attempting to maneuver stealthily between Ukrainian combat positions in the northern part of the city, moving well beyond its limits. But these attempts are strictly localized in their overall nature and do not lead to any significant or enduring tactical results.